Hello everyone, my name is Harsh and I'm back here again with a new session today in which we will be discussing a particular topic from the Transfer of Property Act. In today's session, we are going to talk about Section 10 of the Act, which provides us with the conditions which are restraining the alienation of a property. In this, we will initially talk about the principle that has been provided in the section. We'll talk about various sort of restraints that are there. We'll talk about the major case laws, the exception, and we will provide you an overall knowledge, overall analysis of the section 10, which is providing us with the conditions that is restraining alienation of any sort of property. Now, the principle that is underlying this particular provision is that a right to transfer is incidental and it is inseparable from the ownership of the property. It's incidental and inseparable from the ownership of the property. Another principle that can be deduced from this particular provision is that this is also based on the principle of public policy, which is allowing free circulation and disposal of property. These are two major principles that we can analyze and see in this particular provision. Now, as we initially said, that the title was Conditions Restraining Alienation. Now, what are these types of restraint that we will be discussing? There are mainly two types of restraint that we'll be discussing in this particular section. One is absolute restraint, another is partial restraint. Now, absolute restraint is in various cases considered as void, whereas the partial restraint is to be considered as valid. These are the two major types of restraints that are there. We'll be talking about them one by one. So, we'll begin with the absolute restraint. Now, if the transfer is subject to a condition which is absolutely restraining the transferee or any person under him from parting with or disposing of his interest in the property, now this particular kind of condition will be considered as void because it is absolutely restraining that person from the transfer of property or any sort of interest in that particular property. And in cases of partial interest, it will be void, and there will be some sort of reasonable restrictions that will be imposed on the particular transferee or any person under him. Now, we will be talking about the categorization of restraints. What all restraints can be categorized under this particular provisions of the Transfer of Property Act. Now, the restraints can be the restraints on transfer of for a particular period of time. The restraints can be on the directing the control over consideration. The restraint will be with respect to the person that is transferee or any person under him. The restraint can be with respect to the sale for a particular purpose or use of property. These are certain kind of restraints which have been categorized under this particular provision. Now, let's take a very quick illustration that will help us to understand these particular two types of restraints, that is the absolute and the partial restraints under the conditions restraining alienation. Now, the example can be like, suppose if A is transferring his particular property to B, person A is transferring his particular property to B, and he's also imposing a particular condition on it that B shall never sell it. Okay, I hope this much part of the example was understandable. A is transferring a property to B and also imposing a condition that B shall never be allowed to sell that particular property. Now, this particular condition in this case shall be considered as void because B may sell or not as he is pleased. If this particular condition was for a particular period of time, it might have been considered as a partial restraint and can be considered valid, but in this particular case, as he is imposing an absolute condition that he should not be allowed to sell it at any point of time, so that condition should be considered ideally as void, as it is an absolute restraint under the section 10 of the Act. Now, there is a very important case. There are a few cases that I like to discuss, beginning on with the Rocher versus Rocher. It's a very old case, so you might not find it everywhere, though you can refer to some good books of TPA that will try to give you such sort of cases. The case of Rocher versus Rocher, the court held that the restrictions that were in the case were not amounting to an absolute restraint on the son and his heir's power of alienation, and therefore they were void. So in this particular case, there was a particular restraint, there was a particular condition that was imposed on a transfer of property, that a father imposed on a transfer of property that his son and his particular heirs were absolutely restrained with their power of alienation. Therefore, the court said that such condition is void, and the son and his particular heirs that were going to come in the coming generation, they shall treat that particular condition as irrelevant and they should completely ignore it. This was held in the case of Rocher versus Rocher, and it defined absolute restraint in a more elaborative and a comprehensive way. Now, another important and leading case of restraint under the Transfer of Property Act is the Zoroastrian Cooperative Housing Society Limited versus the District Registrar of Cooperative Societies. It's a very interesting case if you want to read more about it. Now, what happened in this particular case was that a society was created for Parsis specifically, and when you go to buy that flat or something in that particular society, there was a regulation and rule. The bylaws of the society said that one who is a Parsi can buy a house or a property over there. Only who's a Parsi have the right to go and buy property in that particular society. Also, if I as a Parsi, I go and buy property, I'm residing over there. Now further, I cannot alienate that particular property to anyone who is not a Parsi. The alienation can only be done to someone who is from the same community or who is a Parsi. This was a particular condition that was laid down in the particular case. Now the court held that the clause that was there in the bylaws of the society, which specifically mentioned that the property can only be sold or alienated further to someone from the Parsi community only, was a partial restraint, and therefore it was to be considered as valid and not void. And also, when I was buying that particular property, I gave my consent to those bylaws, and then only I got the rights over that property. Therefore, I cannot protest against it or say that it's an absolute restraint, because that society was particularly created for an individual community, that was the Parsi community, and as per their bylaws, they had this particular rule that it should not be sold or transferred to anyone else who is not a part of that particular community. So this was held in this case that such sort of restraint should be termed as a partial restraint, and therefore it shall be valid and not void. Another important case is Panna Lal Hazara versus Phulmani Hazara. This is also a leading case from 1987. Now in this case, according to the court, this condition in gift to provide maintenance to the donor himself or any of his dependents was not in any way repugnant to the interest created by the instrument. Also, the court concluded that such condition, as I previously mentioned, was valid and it was to be treated as enforceable. Therefore the son was bound to maintain his stepmother, and this particular consideration or condition was not hit by section 10 or section 11. Now I hope these judicial precedents were enough for us to understand and differentiate between the two major types of restraints, that is the absolute restraint and the partial restraint. We have understood the various sort of restraints, the different cases which differentiated very clearly between the absolute and the partial restraint under the restrictions for alienation of property. Now there are two exceptions which are provided. There are two provisos which are treated as an exception to the restraint on the alienation of property. The first one is talking about a lease, where the condition is for the benefit of a lessor or anyone who's claiming under him. Another exception is in cases of condition on married women. Now we'll be discussing about these two exceptions here in detail, and it will help us enough to understand in what particular cases the conditions which is restraining alienation shall be treated as void, even if it is absolute. The first is talking about lease. Now this particular exception is arising from the nature of the lease, which is that transfer of property for a particular time or in perpetuity, but in such cases where the lessor necessarily retains an interest. So in this particular condition of lease, lessee shall not sublet or assign. If you are saying this particular condition, that in such transfer of property the lessor should not be subletting or assigning, that will be valid, because the necessarily the interest was retaining with the lessor only. Now second exception here is on married women. So we'll be talking about the conditions which are imposed on married women in the alienation of property. So how shall this be an exception? So this particular proviso recognizes as another exception to the conditions restraining alienation. So in this particular restraint on the power of anticipation in case of a married woman who is not a Hindu, Mohammedan or Buddhist. In such cases, the condition which is restraining alienation shall be treated as a valid one and not void. Even if it is absolute, it shall be treated as an proviso, it shall be treated as an exception to the provisions of the section 10. So I hope today's session was informative enough for everyone to understand what are the conditions which are restraining alienation of property under the Transfer of Property Act, the different types of restraint, that is the absolute restraint, the partial restraint, what sort of restraint should be termed as void or valid, what are the different case laws that we should be referring individually in order to decide whether any sort of restraint that have been put on us for the alienation of property should be termed as void or valid. So all these will be enough for today, and we shall be very soon back and with another video on the Transfer of Property Act. That will be all. Thank you so much. Bye bye.